Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the High Functioning Hotspot with me, Dr. Chloe Carmichael. Today's guest is Amy Summers, an amazing publicist who runs her own publicity company. She's been in business for nearly 2 decades. She does Good Morning America, The Today Show, gets clients on there and goes there and supports them with it. I don't think she appears on there as a guest herself, but she's frequently around some really big shows. She really knows how to present herself publicly. She's also a great businesswoman. In addition to having her very successful PR company in New York City, she also speaks regularly at digital voice conferences. She has a new product where she actually teaches people through an Alexa. I don't want to say the name too loudly, but because it will activate mine, but our home smart assistants. So she has a flash briefing. You can tell your Alexa to enable the skill of the Amy Summers flash briefing. It's pretty cool, where she'll walk you through some communications and PR tips if you just yourself want to put your best foot forward in life. So I hope you enjoy it as much as I do.
Hey, Chloe.
Hi, Amy.
Sorry for being late.
No, Amy, you don't need to apologize at all. I know how busy you are, and I'm thankful you decided to join the High Functioning Hotspot today. So
yeah.
I am recording, just to state the obvious. And so just to go ahead and dive right in, Amy. So you are such an exceptionally high functioning person. I mean, Amy Summers is like the high functioning person personified, right? You take great care of yourself, you take great care of your business, and really of everyone in your life. So I'm just curious if you can share some of these questions. I kind of know the answer to because we've talked before, but people listening wouldn't necessarily know them. So I'm curious if you can share, Amy. It's, in my experience, it's kind of unusual for somebody in PR to be as thoughtful and kind and together as you. And so I'm curious if you can share how you came to have an interest in PR.
Oh, sure. And thank you so much for all the nice things that you said to introduce me as well. So, gosh, how did I come to PR? Actually, it's very interesting because I didn't know anything about PR. I grew up in a very small town with very limited examples of different professionals to look up to. And I specifically remember in my high school English class, my senior year, our teacher asked us to write a report on what we wanted to be when we grew up. So I thought I wanted to be a journalist because I was very involved with yearbook at my high school, and I loved writing and telling stories. And this will date me a little bit, but we didn't use Google to do research. We used encyclopedias, and I was looking in an encyclopedia, and when I was looking up about journalism, that career, I stumbled upon public relations. And I don't know, just as a high school senior, it was very, whatever I read in the encyclopedia about public relations was very impressive to me. And so I decided as I was going into college that summer, right after I graduated from high school, that my major was going to be PR. And that totally freaked my parents out because they had no idea what a PR professional did. And I remember specifically them asking me, how much money will a PR person make and what will you do? And I just said, I don't know, but I really like the idea of a PR person. I want to pursue that instead of journalism. So that's how I did it. And I stuck with it all the way through my 4 years in college. And I'm still doing it today, which is highly unusual that people get the degree in what they end up doing.
Right. And I do want to get to that as to, how it is that you came to be so successful in the field. But before I get to that, I'm curious. So you had this high school experience and it was really appealing to you. I mean, for me, I can imagine, did it just feel and sound like something glamorous, or was there something different? What appealed to you so much in high school?
I think that it was the idea that a PR person was more behind the scenes and helping others learn about something versus what a journalist does, which is reporting on stories and news of the day. I think I really liked the idea of telling that untold story or helping the journalist even find those stories. That part of the PR profession is not often highlighted, but it's actually a big part of what we do. is what we are supposed to do is to assist journalists in helping them find story leads and help them with their stories. And I really like that aspect of it.
That makes a lot of sense. Now this next question, Amy, we'll take it like a little bit tongue in cheek, because I know that, you know, you're a wonderful person and you certainly don't want to, like, you know, slam your colleagues, but I'll say it. In my experience, most PR people are really, really flaky. Why is it that most PR people, it just seems at least, seem to be known, and certainly not you, which is why I think you're so special and so thankful that I know you. But I'm curious, why does it seem like it's so hard to find a PR person that, like, a small business owner can talk to and have an accountable conversation where what we talk about is actually what ends up happening?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, I don't really hang out with PR people, so it's hard for me a little bit to comment on that, because on the flakiness part of it, because I don't really, you know, spend a lot of time with them. Although I have a lot of clients or prospective clients come to me and say what you have said. You know, they express frustration with talking to people that talk a big game, but then it never really happens. And I don't, you know, I know that this is a big problem in the PR industry for sure, because it's something I've had to actually pitch and sell against my entire career. The reputation that PR people don't really live up to what the expectations are. And, you know, I used to in my mind think, well, I must be the only good PR person out there. But I also know that that is not true now that I am later in my career, and there's actually a lot of good PR people out there. What I've come to actually realize is that I think that not all PR people are bad. I think that there's probably a very small percentage of them that are actually how you describe, which is flaky. I think the biggest problem in our profession is that we as professionals don't set up boundaries with our bosses, our clients. And so therefore the expectation of what we are doing is very grandiose in some people's minds, and that PR people don't take the time often to educate their colleagues, their bosses, their clients about what to expect and what they do. And I do a lot of education to my current clients, you know, prospective clients all the time on this, to really set the expectation. And I don't think that if you don't have the right expectation, then of course you're going to be a failure, you know, because everyone has a different idea of what PR is. In fact, I'll tell you a quick funny story. Back earlier when I was starting my company, I remember a client very specifically came to me, and at the time, Sex and the City was a really popular show on HBO. And he got very frustrated with me because he said, you know, why can't you just be like Samantha? And I was actually not even watching Sex and the City at the time. And so I thought, oh my gosh, I have to watch this show because I have no idea what this guy is talking about. And she was a character on the show that was this, you know, big time publicist in New York that was always throwing these grandiose events and making things happen. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, he thinks that this is what I should be doing for him every day. So, you know, there's a lot of things that influence, I think, what people perceive PR is, and there's not a lot of education around what PR is. And that really falls on the shoulders of the PR professional, and it's our fault for not setting those boundaries and educating people. And I think when you do, then you have better relationships with your clients, your colleagues, and your boss.
Right. That's a great answer, Amy. You said a lot of really helpful things there. And towards the beginning, you mentioned something important too, which is that, you know, PR interns and young people going into PR, they're not oftentimes really supported. You know, I remember when I was first starting my practice, I don't really work so much anymore with people at a junior level as much, but when I first started my practice, I would work with, you know, some junior PR interns, and they were just the most abused, nervous, you know, group of people. So I think that's a good point, that maybe some of the drama and chaos that we see in, you know, PR professionals sometimes comes from, you know, from their roots. But you're absolutely right. And it's certainly not, you know, true of all PR people. And I don't, you know, I love PR people, so it's certainly nothing against that. I'm curious though, Amy, for you, and I like to ask high functioning people this really no matter what career they're in. So in your case, I'm curious, when and how did you come to realize, you know what, I'm really good at this? Like better than even like most good people. Like I'm really good at this. Did you like have a moment of realizing that, and how did it come about?
Gosh, that is a hard question, to think back on something like that. I often don't think that I'm good or better than everybody else. I'm more in the camp of always trying to prove myself. I've always felt like I've had to prove myself my entire life and my career and everything. So I really am not one of those people that kind of sit back and say, oh, I've made it. I've accomplished everything and I'm perfect. I think that if I ever did that, then I would probably fall off a cliff the next day. So I would actually be afraid to think those thoughts. I've discovered, as I've gotten more senior in my career, that I'm really wired as an entrepreneur more. And so being wired as an entrepreneur, I'm always looking for, what's next, what's going to make me uncomfortable next. I actually am not very at ease when things are going great and I think everything is wonderful. So, for example, this year, this is my 17th year of having pitch publicity, which is a long time for a small business owner. And I mean, honestly, at this point, I feel like I could do it blindfolded. I mean, it's not as challenging as it was because I have it down. I've been doing it for almost 2 decades now. So I started a new company this year, so I mean, that's just, I don't like being comfortable in any situation. And the new company is actually making pitch even better, so they're feeding off of each other now. So that's fun. But
That's so true. I just want to say what that new company is so people can connect those dots. They're related. It's INICIVOX, right? Which is,
yes.
and Amy has this incredible, I don't even want to say Alexa, because I don't want my thing to wake up, but like for your smart home device,
Yeah.
you can listen to Amy's, it's not even really a podcast. Well, I'll let you say, please go ahead.
Sure, thanks. Yeah, INICIVOX was really inspired by a flash briefing that I started doing a couple of years ago with my voice assistant. We'll just call her Lexi so that we don't activate everyone's voice assistants while we talk. But yeah, it's considered a microcast because it's a very short, all of mine are under 3 minutes, tips on communication. And so if you ask Lexi or your voice assistant, I'm also on Google Home and others as well, for the pitch with Amy Summers, then you can get a free communication tip from me every day that might apply to your work life or your personal life. But I really dive into the intricacies of communication and how we can use it to either persuade someone or be empathetic towards someone or lead people. So it's been a very interesting project. And so this year, I've actually culminated all of those microcasts into a company called INICIVOX, which allows what I call mentorship in minutes. You don't have to have a mentor and go get coffee and have this long relationship. You can actually just kind of get those quick mentorship tidbits from my microcast each day and really improve some soft skills in communication that could be beneficial, again, like I said, in your personal or professional life.
Yeah, and I can see where, as you're saying, that it is enhancing the pitch because it's related. It's not like you have a PR company and then you started a bakery. Like this is a totally related and complementary industry. And in fact, isn't it like the University of Florida, I know, has you teaching PR, and then I think it's a school in India that's actually picking up your microcast and making it into, I mean, tell me, high functioning Amy, what is happening with your high functioning tips? And they're getting now sent all over the world.
Yeah, so you can either go to INICIVOX.com and subscribe yourself and just go at your own pace and learn these different communication soft skills and professional skills. Or you can do it in a group setting. If somebody wanted to do something specific with a university, like I'm doing with the University of Florida this fall. I'm teaching a class called Pitching Persuasion, and they're all based on these microcasts. And so the students take one every week as an assignment, and I have a pitch challenge in every single microcast, and they go off and they do that pitch challenge and report back to me. It's a paperless class, so everything is using voice technology and using our voices, which I think is really important these days because we have relied on technology too much, especially in the past decade, to be our primary source of communication, which has made people's verbal communication really go downhill. And so this helps strengthen that. And so that's the class I'm teaching with UF. It could be taught at any university, really. And yes, I've had interest from other countries. In fact, been talking to a woman in India who's an entrepreneur for about a year now about putting together something in that country as well. She was telling me that India is very focused on having more entrepreneurship with their young professionals, but a lot of their young professionals don't have those skills because they're not learned in university there or even here in America on how to, close a deal, network, communicate, motivate someone. These are not skills that we typically learn in a classroom. They're skills that we typically learn when we are out and about and learning from others and being mentored by others. And with the pandemic this year, it's made it even more difficult because now we have to be social distance from everyone. So even finding a mentor or going to a networking event like how we met Chloe is more challenging. So I think INICIVOX is even more relevant. It's ironic that I launched it a month before the pandemic caused a lockdown. But I think it's very relevant in today's age that we can still get that mentorship from people that have been there and done that without having to be in a coffee house with them or at dinner with them or at a networking event.
That's so true. I mean, I think that we are the product of the people that we spend time with. And I personally find listening to the pitch, to be almost like spending time with you. And I listen to it and I feel myself sitting up straighter and making sure that I'm ready to be on camera. It's almost like having Amy there, like helping me to focus, which is so awesome. Now I have to ask you though, Amy, so you are obviously a very poised and polished person. I mean, you are in PR and, that's partly, what you're helping people to do. And I've known you, I don't know how many years now, and I don't think I've ever discovered like a sloppy side. And so I just have to know, is there you're never late, you're, never, don't have your hair done. Are you ever just kind of like schlubby?
Oh, sure. All the time. And I think I was late to your podcast today too.
Well, for like 1 minute, I mean.
I definitely, I wouldn't say that I'm sloppy in the sense that my house is unkept all the time or something like that. But when I'm not on, when I don't have to be, turned on for a client or an event or doing a podcast with you, of course, I'm not putting on full effort every single day just for myself and my dog, So Winnie, my puppy, can just see the, hair messy side of Amy, I guess.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm glad to know it exists. I'm glad to know. Now, I'm going to ask you one more question, and then I'm just going to give you the floor to see if maybe there's things that I haven't asked that you want people to know or anything like that. And we'll definitely be putting links in the show notes to INICIVOX and to Pitch Publicity as well in your social media so that people can find you. But before I, just give you the floor as well to share whatever you may want to share, I wanted to also ask you, I know a lot of business people, and we're always trying to figure out exactly how do you really vet a PR person? Because per our earlier discussion, PR people can almost be good at doing PR for themselves. And so you talk to them and, it's almost like they seem great, but then when it actually comes down to brass tacks, business owners can just, sometimes feel a little bit deflated or, at the worst case, even sometimes misled. So I'm curious, if you were a business owner and you didn't know anything about PR, what should that business owner be doing or asking or putting in contracts when they're signing with a PR person?
Yeah, this is a great question. I actually wrote an entire article about this, so I'll share that with you so you can put in your show notes too.
Perfect.
For your listeners. But there's several things. I think whenever you're unfamiliar with anything, and I love using the example of taking your car to the mechanic, if you're not a mechanic, you kind of just go with whatever they say because they're the professional. And I mean, what do you know about engines and hoses and tires and things like that? So you're hoping that they're not pulling a fast one on you, and that when you get in your car, everything works right. And I think it's the same way in any profession, and even PR, people can get what I call razzle dazzled. I love that scene in Chicago, the Broadway show, where the lawyer is talking about how he razzle dazzles everyone in the courtroom. And so PR people can be perceived that way too. So if you are looking to hire a PR agency or even a PR professional, it's really important to ask tangible questions, just like you would for somebody that you were interviewing to work for you. So you want to ask for references, you want to call on those references, and you want to ask don't just trust a quote or something. Go and actually call the person, talk to them, ask them, what did you enjoy, working with this person the most? What was difficult? Ask those hard questions so you get really good answers. Were you pleased with the service? Why are you not working with them right now? Those types of questions. And when you ask for references, ask for current clients and past clients. Don't just ask for the people they're working with right now, ask for previous clients as well. And if they're not willing to give you that information, of course, that's a red flag right there, because they're trying to control their own message, if you will. I'd ask, to meet team members. Ask, who are you going to be working with? And I think that this is a big question. I think most people assume that whoever's selling them, which is usually the partner or the owner or the person in charge, that's usually the one giving them the pitch to get hired. A lot of times in the PR world, that is not the person you're going to be working with on a day-to-day basis. So I would ask, who are you going to be working with on a day-to-day basis after the sales transaction is done? At my agency, I personally work with every single client, but that's not typical of a PR agency, which is one of the reasons why I do it this way. Much of the time, you will, like you said, work with somebody who's more junior. And sometimes it depends on the size of your company. So if you're not Coca-Cola or PepsiCo and you're just a startup, you might be working with, not the A team at a PR agency. So you want to meet those people and you want to know who they are. And if they're not forthcoming with letting you meet those people in the sales process, that's also a red flag, because of course you want to meet whoever you're going to be ending up working with.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Amy. And I know that you got really great people working under you, in part because I think probably, you have such great relationships, with universities and with PR programs that you're able to, attract such high quality support. But then you're saying that you personally also touch and manage each client that you have. It's not like you just pass them off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, so as I mentioned, I was just going to also throw you the floor if there's anything that I haven't asked that you want to share.
Sure. I would just, encourage your listeners to just embrace the possibility of what communicating can do. I know that you work with a lot of high functioning professionals, and there's probably a lot of people in your world that try to do everything on their own. And one of the things that you have to learn as a professional is that you can't possibly do everything on your own and be a success. So I would say surround yourself with other people that are like you, but that are specializing in something that you cannot do as well. And then I think you'll find that you will be more successful when you release and you let somebody else help you out.
That sounds awesome, Amy. And speaking of somebody else helping you out, Amy has actually created her own tip list for just everyday people that are going to be going on Zoom calls and that need to look and sound and act as professionally as if they were on network television. And so in an upcoming episode, Amy's actually going to go through that very list with me. So we're going to wrap up this particular interview here, but Amy's going to stick around because we're going to be getting ready for a future episode where you are going to be able to have Amy Summers, owner of Pitch Publicity, personally walk you through what she thinks that you need to be doing on camera if you're on Zoom. Thanks so much for joining us, Amy.
Thanks, Dr. Chloe.
So thanks again, everyone, for joining me. And I hope to see you either at the next episode, or you can catch me on YouTube if you like watching these types of videos. I have a lot of my blogs made as video logs on my YouTube channel. So you can go there, or I'm all over social media, or by all means, you can pre-order my book, Nervous Energy, Harness the Power of Your Anxiety, through Amazon. Or if you happen to be single, my book, Dr. Clay's 10 Commandments of Dating, is already available through audio as well. And some people have even said that they found the book helpful for other types of relationships too, because it's just a lot of, guidance about how to have good boundaries in your relationship. So either way, it's great to see you. Thanks so much for joining today's episode, and have a great rest of the day.